A single word just triggered a global crisis, and it all started with machinery. Heavy machinery, to be exact. What began as a simple request for construction equipment quickly spiraled into a full-scale international standoff. The fallout is now spreading across trade, manufacturing, and diplomacy, and it's escalating faster than anyone could have imagined. You're probably wondering, how could something as simple as machinery spark such chaos? Stick around, because you'll be shocked by how one simple refusal set off a chain reaction that could affect industries, economies, and even political power. This isn't just about machines. It's about who controls what and who gets to say no when the stakes are this high. Trust me, you don't want to miss how this unfolds. So what exactly happened here? A demand for heavy machinery, some of the most critical equipment in construction and infrastructure projects, turned into a ticking time bomb for global trade. And this wasn't just any machinery. It's the kind that powers massive projects from bridges to factories and is worth billions. The request? Fast-tracking deliveries and pushing to override existing supply contracts. Simple, right? Except for one small problem. The response was one word. No, Yasar. And that one word came from a key international partner. Now, here's where it gets interesting. That refusal isn't just about equipment, it's about control. Control over the very systems that keep economies running. But why did this no matter so much? Why now? And what does it mean for you, the average person? This isn't just another trade dispute. This could reshape how global supply chains work. Let me show you how. Here's the hard truth. This is bigger than just a missed shipment or a simple negotiation breakdown. This was about leverage, and more importantly, who holds the power in the global supply chain game. Trump's request for fast-tracked machinery wasn't met with a counteroffer or a diplomatic response. It was flat out rejected with one simple word: no. And that word came from a major partner, specifically Canada, which supplies nearly 22% of all heavy industrial imports to the United States. Let that sink in. Canada's response wasn't personal, it was strategic. And here's why. This refusal is a clear signal that the balance of power is shifting. When the world's second largest aluminum exporter shuts down a major request, that's not just a delay, it's a message, and it's about to have far-reaching consequences. Notice what's missing. Here, this isn't just about equipment. This is about who's in control of these critical industries. This is where it all starts to unravel. This situation didn't stay quiet for long. What started as a single refusal quickly snowballed. To understand how it escalated, you need to look at the bigger picture. The supply chain. The machinery in question isn't some off-the-shelf product. A single high-capacity excavator can cost millions and takes years to manufacture, not to mention the hundreds of parts required from around the globe. So when Canada says no to fast-tracking a delivery, they're not just rejecting one order, they're shutting down a whole system. And here's the kicker. This refusal wasn't just about keeping machines on hold. It was about sending a clear signal to the U.S. and the world. Canada has leverage right now. Now remember, this isn't the first time we've seen supply chain disruptions lead to chaos. Back in 1973, the oil embargo caused similar global ripples. Fast forward to 2021, and the semiconductor shortage wiped out $210 billion for automakers. This is the same playbook, and it's happening again. And just like that, what seemed like a minor roadblock for machinery manufacturers became a glaring example of how quickly global power can shift when one country holds the cards. But here's where things get even more intense. Canada's refusal wasn't just a one-off event, it was a calculated move. Let's break it down. Trump's tariffs on aluminum, designed to bring more production back to the U.S., have backfired in a major way. The math didn't work out for Canadian exporters. When the tariffs shot up to 50%, U.S. buyers couldn't cover the costs. So Canadian suppliers started redirecting their shipments elsewhere, leaving the U.S. with sharply reduced inventories. And that's where the story shifts. Because Canada wasn't just refusing to send machinery, they were all capitalizing on a strategic advantage. By withholding supplies, they hit U.S. industries where it hurts the most. Manufacturing costs are skyrocketing, and industries are already under immense pressure. This one-word refusal created a ripple effect, shaking stock prices, shaking up industries, and pushing markets to react almost immediately. And here's why that matters. Trump's tariffs were supposed to create American leverage, but instead they exposed a massive vulnerability. When Canada said no, it wasn't just a pause, it was a pivot. And now the US is the one left scrambling. And then the chaos started stacking up. One refusal quickly became a domino effect. Construction firms. The backbone of American infrastructure were the first to feel the heat. Delayed machinery? That means the delayed projects. And when projects are delayed, that means layoffs. Multiply that by thousands of federally funded construction jobs, and you start to see the depth of the crisis. But it doesn't stop there. The ripple effect hits the automotive industry. Next, aluminum is critical for lightweight vehicles, and with prices at an all-time high, manufacturers are now facing unprecedented cost overruns. On top of that, logistics companies are reeling from price hikes in everything from fuel to raw materials, pushing up costs even more. If this continues, we're looking at a scenario where delays won't just be an inconvenience, they'll be a massive economic burden for U.S. businesses, workers, and consumers alike. The system is already starting to crack, and we're just getting started. Now let's zoom out and think about the real-world impact of all this. Imagine a construction foreman in Ohio who's been waiting on crucial machinery for months. Every day of delay brings them closer to penalties, layoffs, and potentially lost contracts. And it's not just the big corporations that are feeling the sting. Small businesses, the lifeblood of America's economy, are caught in the crossfire. Picture a roofing company in Texas locked into a contract 6 months ago, only to face massive price hikes on materials like aluminum. That small business now has two choices: lose money on the job or risk a breach of contract. And it doesn't stop there. Families are also feeling the heat. For many, home renovations or even basic construction projects are now out of reach due to skyrocketing prices. This isn't just a political or economic crisis. It's a personal one for everyday people across the U.S. If this feels familiar, say so in the comments. Because the reality is, this is happening right now, and it's hitting the pockets of regular Americans the hardest. But here's the real kicker. This isn't just about tariffs, machinery, or even the current shortages. What's really happening here is a failure of the system. A system that was built on reliance and stability, but now it's showing cracks. The real problem isn't that U.S. industries can't get what they need. It's that the system has become fragile. Tariffs were supposed to help American manufacturing, but what they've done instead is expose how interdependent the global economy really is. Leverage just doesn't come from power alone. It comes from knowing you can enforce your will. But when countries like Canada hold unmatched leverage, over vital supplies, things start to break down fast. Politicians may push for solutions, but without the infrastructure to back it up, those pushes are just empty words. The truth is, this crisis isn't an isolated incident. It's a warning shot about how easily global supply chains can collapse when the right people aren't at the table. And this isn't the last time we're going to see this kind of pressure. So, where does this all go from here? There are two paths ahead, and neither is easy. First, you have the escalation path. If tensions continue to rise, we could see the USMCA trade agreement unraveling at the seams. Imagine Trump doubling down on tariffs using House national security clauses, tariffs, to pressure Canada into submission. This could lead to full-blown trade chaos with retaliation from Canada and its trading partners, not just in aluminum, but across key industries. On the flip side, there's the diplomatic path. American industries already on the brink could push Trump to back down, facing mounting pressure. He might have to accept less favorable terms to avoid a total economic collapse, removing tariffs and reopening trade with Canada, but at a cost. The problem is, the longer this standoff drags on, the more uncertain things become. The next move is already being set in motion. But the question is, which direction will it go? Will it be compromise, or will it lead to a bigger breakdown? Here's the takeaway. Power doesn't lie in the demands you make. It lies in the leverage you can actually wield. Trump's tariffs were supposed to give the U.S. an upper hand, but instead they exposed just how dependent America has become on foreign suppliers. That one-word refusal from Canada wasn't just a rejection, it was a reality check. Leverage is fragile. and it can flip in an instant. This isn't just a lesson about trade policy. It's a lesson about what happens when you push too hard without the infrastructure to back it up. As this situation unfolds, we'll see if the U.S. can recover or if this will mark the beginning of a bigger shift in global power dynamics. So here's the question. Was this refusal just a warning shot or the beginning of a realignment that will shape North American trade for years to come? To stay ahead of these stories, make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell icon. Because in today's economy, sometimes the quietest word triggers the loudest shockwaves. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.